Imagine reaching into an old family coin jar and unknowingly holding a forgotten piece of American history. Somewhere across America, ordinary-looking Lincoln Memorial wheat pennies have quietly passed from hand to hand for generations, while a small number captured the attention of passionate collectors because of their rarity, condition, or unique stories. Today, we're uncovering 7 incredible Lincoln Memorial wheat pennies that could change the way you look at every cent in your pocket. But don't leave early. Each discovery leads to a bigger mystery, and the final coin stands as the crown jewel of this treasure hunt. Before you ever spend another penny, take a closer look, because the next remarkable discovery could already be waiting in your own collection. First up, at first glance, this looks like nothing more than an old circulated 1982 Lincoln Memorial penny. The brown surfaces, the light black spots, the dark brown reverse, even the tiny light green dot make it appear like a coin that has spent decades quietly passing through countless hands. Most people would never give it a second look. In fact, many would probably toss it into a jar, spend it at a convenience store, or leave it forgotten in a drawer. But that is exactly what makes stories like this so fascinating. Some of the most exciting collector discoveries don't begin with shiny, flawless coins. They begin with ordinary-looking cents that carry decades of history, natural aging, and characteristics that encourage experienced collectors to take a much closer look. Imagine this penny's journey. It may have traveled through grocery stores, gas stations, family businesses, and local banks. It may have been carried in someone's pocket during the early 1980s, dropped into a child's piggy bank, or stored away in a forgotten coffee can for decades before resurfacing today. All that time, almost nobody would have imagined it could attract serious collector attention. Now here's where the mystery becomes even more interesting. The year 1982 holds a special place in Lincoln cent history because it was a year of important production changes. That means collectors often examine 1982 pennies very carefully, checking details such as the date, composition, mint mark, weight, strike quality, and overall preservation. That single date has become one of the most searched years among Lincoln cent enthusiasts. And that's why many experienced collectors refuse to ignore a 1982 penny before examining it closely. This particular example shows honest circulation, with a rich brown appearance developed over many years. The light black spotting, darker reverse toning, and small green oxidation mark tell the story of a coin that has naturally aged while surviving decades in circulation. To many people, those marks simply look like wear. But to collectors, every layer of color represents part of the coin's life story. Natural toning, environmental exposure, and long-term preservation often make each surviving example completely unique. That's one reason collectors spend so much time comparing one coin to another. Now imagine opening an old family coin jar. Hundreds of pennies spill onto the table. Most people would rush to count the money. A dedicated collector does something entirely different. They begin reading every date, looking for mint marks, checking the surfaces, searching for unusual details. Because hidden among dozens or even hundreds of common-looking coins could be one example worthy of much closer attention. That excitement keeps collectors searching year after year. And here's something many beginners don't realize. Condition plays an enormous role in collector interest. Even coins from the same year can vary dramatically depending on their preservation, strike quality, originality, and specific characteristics. That's why no experienced collector judges a coin by its date alone. Every tiny detail matters. Every scratch tells part of the story. Every color change raises another question. Every unusual feature deserves another look. That's what transforms an ordinary coin hunt into a real treasure hunt. According to the value provided for this video, this featured 1,982 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny has an estimated market value of $135,500 for something that once had a face value of only 1 cent. That possibility is enough to make anyone stop before spending another old penny. And believe me, if you think this discovery is impressive, don't get too comfortable. The next coin on today's list uncovers an even more fascinating chapter in the story of hidden Lincoln pennies. And its collector appeal may surprise you even more. Next up, if someone handed you this 1,984 D-Mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny as change, chances are you wouldn't hesitate for a second. It has brown spots across the surface, a tiny white dot that most people would mistake for damage, black and brown spotting on the reverse, and an almost fine circulated appearance. To the average person, it looks like another old penny that has seen better days. But experienced collectors have learned an important lesson over the years. Sometimes, the coins that attract the most attention are the ones everyone else overlooks. Imagine this penny's incredible journey. It may have left the Denver Mint more than 4 decades ago with a bright copper shine, only to spend years traveling through cash registers, vending machines, restaurants, family businesses, and countless pockets across America. Every scratch, every spot, and every change in color became another chapter in its story. Now pause for a moment. What if this exact coin sat inside an old piggy bank for 20 years? What if it was tucked away in a forgotten kitchen drawer or hidden inside a family coin jar, waiting for someone curious enough to look beyond its worn appearance? That possibility is what makes coin collecting feel like a real treasure hunt. The 1,984 with D. Lincoln Memorial cent is one of those dates that collectors often inspect carefully. Rather than judging it at a glance, they look closely at the mint mark, the strike, the surfaces, the preservation, and any unusual characteristics that could make one example stand apart from millions of others. That's because 2 pennies with the same date can tell completely different stories. This particular coin carries a rich brown tone developed through decades of circulation. The scattered brown spots, the tiny white mark on the front, and the darker spotting on the reverse aren't just signs of age. They're reminders that this penny has survived years of everyday use while preserving its identity. Every mark raises another question. Where has it been? How many people carried it? How many times was it nearly lost forever? Those unanswered questions are part of what makes old coins so fascinating. Picture a collector sitting at a table under a bright lamp, slowly turning this penny between their fingers. They aren't rushing. They know that remarkable discoveries rarely announce themselves. Instead, they reveal their secrets only to those willing to look carefully. That's why experienced collectors examine every detail before deciding whether a coin deserves a place in their collection. And here's something many people don't realize. Millions of Lincoln cents have been spent without anyone giving them a second glance. Yet every year, collectors continue searching through rolls of pennies, estate collections, and old family jars because they know an overlooked discovery can still appear in the most ordinary places. According to the value provided for this video, this featured 1,984 with D. Lincoln Memorial penny has an estimated market value of $125,600. Just think about that. A coin with a face value of only 1 cent could inspire excitement simply because of its collector appeal and unique story. But don't assume you've seen the most exciting discovery yet. The next coin on today's countdown takes this treasure hunt even further, revealing another Lincoln penny that could make you question every old cent you find from now on. Next up, now the treasure hunt becomes even more exciting. What if one of the most interesting pennies in your collection isn't hidden because it's ancient, but because millions of people have seen the date without ever realizing why it deserves a closer look? This 1982 with D. Lincoln Memorial penny is a perfect example. At first glance, it has the appearance of a well-preserved coin that has aged naturally over the decades. Its beautiful, very fine condition immediately stands out, while the reverse displays a rich mixture of black and brown toning that gives the coin a distinctive character. Instead of looking freshly minted, it carries the authentic look of a coin that has lived through history and quietly survived countless years of circulation. And sometimes, those are exactly the coins that spark the greatest curiosity among collectors. Imagine this penny leaving the Denver Mint in 1982. It begins its journey in a bankroll, then passes through grocery stores, restaurants, gas stations, and family businesses. It changes hands hundreds of times before disappearing into an old coffee can, a dresser drawer, or a forgotten collection where nobody pays attention to it for decades. Years pass. Then one day, someone empties an old coin jar onto the table. Most people are searching for quarters. Some are looking for shiny pennies. But an experienced collector does something completely different. They stop. They notice the date. They see the D mint mark. Then they begin examining every tiny detail under proper lighting. Because 1982 is one of the most fascinating years in the history of the Lincoln Cent series. Important production changes during that year encourage collectors to study these pennies carefully, comparing their characteristics and looking for examples that deserve closer attention. That's why a coin like this is never judged by its date alone. Condition, original surfaces, strike quality, natural color. Every one of those details helps tell the coin's story. This example's attractive, very fine preservation allows many important design details to remain visible despite decades of circulation. The black and brown toning across the reverse gives the coin a distinctive appearance that reflects years of natural aging, making it feel like a small piece of American history rather than an ordinary 1-cent coin. Now ask yourself this: how many 1982 pennies have slipped through your hands? How many were spent without a second thought? How many are still sitting inside jars, old wallets, forgotten boxes, or inherited collections, waiting for someone to finally examine them? That's the question that keeps collectors searching year after year. Not because every old penny is rare, but because remarkable discoveries often begin with the coins everyone else ignores. The excitement isn't just about finding an old cent. It's about uncovering a forgotten story that has survived for more than 40 years. According to the value provided for this video, this featured 1982 with D. Lincoln Memorial penny has an estimated market value of $132,300. Just imagine a coin worth only 1 cent in everyday commerce becoming the subject of collector excitement because of its history, preservation, and collectible appeal. And believe it or not, we're only halfway through today's countdown. The next Lincoln Memorial penny reveals another surprising chapter in this hidden treasure hunt, and its story may be even more unforgettable than the discoveries you've seen so far. Next up, we're getting deeper into today's treasure hunt. And this next penny proves that appearances can be incredibly deceptive. Spread a handful of old Lincoln cents across a table, and this 1983 no mint mark penny would probably blend right in. Its soft grey layer, scattered light black spots across the reverse, and fine circulated condition don't scream valuable. In fact, most people would assume it's simply another worn penny that has spent years moving from one pocket to another. But that's exactly why stories like this continue to fascinate collectors. The greatest discoveries are often hiding in plain sight. Imagine this coin's journey beginning in 1983, fresh from the mint. It entered circulation at a time when America was changing rapidly. Over the next 4 decades, it may have purchased a morning newspaper, bought a child's candy, disappeared into a cash register, or rested quietly inside a family coin jar that no one had opened in years. Thousands of transactions, hundreds of different owners, yet nobody stopped to ask whether this ordinary-looking cent deserved a closer inspection. Now imagine finding it today. You brush away the dust, read the date, and notice there's no mint mark beneath the year. Suddenly, curiosity replaces routine. Instead of seeing just another penny, you begin wondering what collectors might see that everyone else has missed. That single moment of curiosity is where every great coin hunt begins. The year 1983 has long attracted attention from Lincoln cent enthusiasts who carefully examine coins from this period for their originality, strike quality, preservation, and other collectible characteristics. Experienced collectors know that no coin should be judged by its date alone. Every detail matters. The smooth gray toning on this example reflects decades of natural aging. The light black spots on the reverse tell a story of time and storage rather than perfection. Together, they give this penny a personality that no freshly minted coin could ever have. Collectors often say that old coins carry memories you can't read in history books. Every mark hints at places it has traveled. Every color change reflects years of survival. Every worn edge reminds us that history isn't locked away inside museums. It sometimes lives quietly inside the smallest coins we overlook every day. Now think about your own home. Is there an old jar filled with pennies in the garage? A forgotten box in the attic? A coin album inherited from a grandparent? How many 1,983 pennies could be waiting there, untouched for years, simply because no one thought they were worth examining? That's what makes this hobby so exciting. Not every coin becomes a remarkable collector piece, but every overlooked coin carries the possibility of an unexpected discovery. According to the value provided for this video, this featured 1,983 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny has an estimated market value of $130,800. A 1-cent coin, a 40-year journey, and a story that reminds us why experienced collectors never rush past an old penny. But don't stop now. The next coin raises the suspense even higher, bringing us one step closer to the final reveal, the crown jewel of today's countdown. Next up, now we've arrived at a coin that immediately changes the atmosphere of today's countdown. The moment you see the date 1955, you know you're looking at a penny from a completely different era. This isn't just another Lincoln cent from the 1980s. This coin has survived for more than 70 years, carrying with it decades of American history and the quiet mystery that makes wheat pennies so beloved among collectors. At first glance, this 1955 with D. Lincoln wheat penny doesn't appear extraordinary. It shows honest circulation, small black dots across the surface, darker black spotting on the reverse, and the kind of wear you would expect from a coin that spent years passing through everyday commerce. Most people would simply call it old. Collectors call it a survivor. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine America in 1955. Classic automobiles filled the streets. Corner stores accepted this penny for everyday purchases. Children carried handfuls of cents to buy candy after school. Nobody could have imagined that one of those same pennies would still be examined and admired by collectors generations later. That's the incredible journey hidden inside every old wheat penny. This coin may have traveled through thousands of hands before finally disappearing into an old dresser drawer, a family collection, or a forgotten coin jar, where it remained untouched for decades. Then one day, someone decides to empty that jar. Among hundreds of ordinary-looking coins, this wheat penny quietly waits for someone to notice the date. Someone notices the famous wheat ears on the reverse. Someone sees the demint mark. And suddenly, what looked like an ordinary penny becomes the center of attention. That's the magic of coin collecting. Every discovery begins with curiosity. The black dots on the obverse and darker spotting on the reverse don't erase this coin's history. They remind us that it has lived a real life. Every mark reflects decades of circulation, storage, and survival, giving the coin a character that cannot be recreated. Collectors often appreciate originality because every naturally aged coin tells a story that no modern replica ever could. This is why experienced collectors slow down when they encounter wheat pennies. They inspect the lettering. They study the surfaces. They examine the mint mark. They look for unusual characteristics and preservation that separate one example from countless others. It's never just about finding an old coin. It's about discovering a forgotten piece of history hiding in plain sight. Now imagine opening your grandparents' old coin box. Would you recognize a 1955 wheat penny if it was staring back at you? Or would you unknowingly spend it with your morning coffee? That's the question that keeps treasure hunters searching through old collections every single day. According to the value provided for this video, this featured 1955 with D. Lincoln wheat penny has an estimated market value of $165,300. From a humble 1-cent coin to a piece that captures the imagination of collectors. That's the kind of transformation that makes every old penny worth a second look. And don't go anywhere. The next coin takes us even deeper into America's hidden coin history, where another remarkable wheat penny is waiting to reveal its unforgettable story. Next up, if the previous coins felt like hidden treasures, this one feels like opening a forgotten chapter of American history. A 1944 Lincoln wheat penny is already old enough to capture a collector's attention, but when you add a no-mint mark, visible age, black spotting on both sides, worn edges, and most importantly, the possibility of an error, the mystery grows even deeper. This isn't the kind of coin people expect to find. It's the kind they accidentally spend. Picture America in 1944. The nation was living through one of the most significant periods of the 20th century. Millions of wheat pennies were changing hands every single day, helping families buy groceries, newspapers, and everyday necessities. Nobody standing in line at a neighborhood store could have imagined that decades later, collectors would still be searching through old jars, hoping to uncover examples from this remarkable year. Now imagine this very penny beginning its journey. Fresh from the mint, it enters circulation with a bright copper shine. Year after year, it travels across cities and small towns, passing through thousands of hands before finally disappearing into an old wooden box, a forgotten coin album, or a dusty family collection. Then, 40 years pass. 50 years pass. 60 years pass. More than 70 years later, someone opens that forgotten collection. Among dozens of ordinary-looking cents, one coin immediately stands out. The date reads 1944. There is no mint mark beneath the year. The familiar wheat ears appear on the reverse. Black spotting covers parts of the surfaces, while the worn edges reveal decades of honest circulation. Then comes the moment every collector hopes for. What if there's something unusually about this coin? That single question changes everything. Collectors know that error coins are among the most exciting discoveries in numismatics. A genuine mint error can transform an ordinary-looking coin into something that attracts intense collector interest. That's why experienced collectors carefully inspect older wheat pennies for unusual characteristics instead of making quick assumptions. The possibility of an error is what keeps thousands of enthusiasts searching through rolls, estate sales, flea markets, and inherited collections every year. Not because every old penny contains a surprise, but because one extraordinary discovery can make the entire search worthwhile. This particular example tells its own story. The black spots across the obverse and reverse, together with the aged edges, show a coin that has survived decades of circulation. Rather than hiding its age, it proudly wears it. Every mark represents another year of history, another forgotten pocket, another transaction, another chance to disappear forever. Yet somehow, it survived, and now it demands another look. According to the value provided for this video, this featured 1,944 no mint mark Lincoln wheat penny with an error has an estimated market value of $185,500. Think about that for a moment. A simple 1-cent coin, quietly traveling through generations, could become the kind of discovery that collectors dream about finding. But don't celebrate just yet, because the final coin in today's countdown is still waiting. And if the stories you've heard so far have been surprising, the last reveal may become the unforgettable crown jewel of this entire treasure hunt. Next up, we've reached the final discovery, the coin that has been quietly waiting at the end of this journey. If you've watched this entire countdown, you've already seen remarkable Lincoln cents from different decades. But this last coin belongs to a year that instantly captures the attention of collectors the moment they see the date. 1943. Just those 4 numbers are enough to make experienced coin hunters stop what they're doing and take a much closer look. Imagine reaching into an old wooden coin box inherited from your grandparents. Dust covers the lid. Inside are dozens of forgotten wheat pennies collected over generations. You slowly sort through them one by one. 1955, 1944. Then suddenly, you turn over another coin. The date reads 1943. Your heartbeat slows. You don't rush, because collectors know that coins from this year deserve careful examination before any conclusions are made. This featured 1,943 no mint mark Lincoln wheat penny has soft grey toning across the surfaces and remains in very fine condition, despite the many decades that have passed since it first entered circulation. It carries the unmistakable appearance of a coin that has survived history rather than simply existing through it. Think about everything this penny may have witnessed. It could have passed through the hands of factory workers, shop owners, families saving every cent, children filling their first coin albums, generation after generation. Yet somehow it escaped being lost forever. That's what makes old wheat pennies so captivating. They aren't simply pieces of metal. They're silent witnesses to American history. Every worn edge, every tiny mark, every change in color represents another chapter in a story that can never be repeated. Collectors understand that no 2 old coins age in exactly the same way. That's why they inspect every detail under proper lighting, carefully studying the date, the absence of a mint mark, the strike, the surfaces, and any unusual characteristics before deciding whether a coin deserves a special place in their collection. The excitement isn't only about rarity. It's about discovery. It's about the feeling that something overlooked for decades has finally been recognized for what it truly is. Now ask yourself one final question. How many old pennies have passed through your hands during your lifetime? How many did you spend without looking? How many are still sitting inside a forgotten jar? an inherited collection, or an old family drawer, waiting for someone curious enough to check the date? That single question is why millions of collectors continue searching every single year. Not because every penny changes a life, but because every great discovery begins with one careful look. According to the value provided for this video, this featured 1,943 no mint mark Lincoln wheat penny has an estimated market value of $189,400. A 1-cent coin, more than 80 years of history, and a story powerful enough to remind us that remarkable collector treasures don't always announce themselves. Sometimes, they wait patiently inside ordinary pocket change until someone finally notices. So before you spend another old Lincoln penny, pause for just a moment. Check the date. Look for the mint mark. Study the condition. Because today's greatest treasure hunt may not begin at an auction. It might begin with the very next penny you hold in your hand.